day is over, the lights are off, your body is begging for rest. But your mind is just getting started. It replays conversations from 5 hours ago. It imagines disasters that haven't happened. It reopens wounds you thought had healed. It calculates, rewrites, analyzes, predicts, and even in the quiet, it's never really quiet. This is the invisible war, a world where everything on the outside looks fine, but inside, your mind is loud, relentless, and restless. You're not alone. In fact, this is one of the most common forms of modern suffering. It's not just anxiety, not just stress. It's the chronic, compulsive habit of living in your head, and rarely in the moment. This is overthinking, and it's not a personality quirk. It's not you being too sensitive. It's a form of mental survival. Your brain, somewhere along the way, learned, if I can think through every possibility, maybe I won't get hurt. If I prepare for every outcome, maybe I won't be caught off guard again. If I keep solving problems, even the ones that don't exist, maybe I'll finally feel safe. But the safety never comes, because the truth is, you're not thinking, you're spiraling, and it's not your fault. It's your nervous system doing what it was trained to do: anticipate, protect, survive. But here's the paradox. The very mind that's trying to protect you is also the one that's keeping you trapped. Because peace doesn't come from thinking more. It comes from learning how to feel safe enough to stop. This isn't just about calming your mind. It's about healing the part of you that doesn't know how to rest. The part that believes if you stop overthinking, everything will fall apart. But maybe what's falling apart is the illusion that you need to do it all in your head. Let's begin. Overthinking isn't just thinking too much. It's a psychological cage. It's lying in bed, dissecting every word you said today. It's running mental simulations of how tomorrow might go wrong. It's rewriting the past, rehearsing the future, and forgetting the present. Overthinking is the brain's attempt to gain control over things it was never meant to control. It's not curiosity. It's not intelligence. It's mental survival mode. At its core, overthinking is driven by fear. Fear of making the wrong decision, fear of rejection or failure, fear of not being prepared, fear of uncertainty. So the mind becomes a battlefield, constantly planning, editing, calculating. Not because it's broken, but because it's trying to protect you. The logic is simple. If I can just think through everything, maybe I can prevent pain. But the cost, you start living in your thoughts instead of your life. There are two main patterns of overthinking. 1. Rumination, replaying the past, obsessing over what went wrong, what you should have said, how things could have been different. 2. Worry, imagining worst-case scenarios, trying to predict and control the future before it happens. Both lead to paralysis. Both feed anxiety. Both rob you of presence. And here's what's cruel. The more you overthink, the less confident you become, which leads to more overthinking. It becomes a loop, a self-reinforcing habit, a way of being that feels normal, but is quietly destroying your peace. Overthinking is often praised in disguise. We call it being thorough. We call it being prepared. But no one prepares for joy this way. No one spirals like this over good outcomes. Overthinking is the nervous system's addiction to mental control. But it's a control that never satisfies because it's rooted in fear, not clarity. And the worst part? It convinces you that thinking more will solve what only stillness can heal. You don't need to think harder. You need to feel safer, because the mind won't rest until it knows the body is no longer in danger. And sometimes the danger isn't real. It's remembered. If this content is making sense to you, click the subscribe button and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for your support. To understand overthinking, you have to understand the brain. and what it was designed not to do. Your brain's number one job isn't to make you happy, it's to keep you alive. And it does that through one primary mechanism: threat detection. When your brain senses danger, real or imagined, it activates your amygdala, the fear center. Heart rate spikes, breath shortens, muscles tighten, and your thoughts, they speed up, because your body is preparing to do something: run, hide, fight, escape. But here's the catch. The brain can't always tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. A harsh email, a long pause in a text message, a memory from 5 years ago, a future that hasn't even happened yet. These things can trigger the same fight or flight response as being chased by a wild animal. And once the fear system is activated, your prefrontal cortex, the rational problem-solving part of the brain, starts to shut down. That's why overthinking feels chaotic, not clear, because your mind isn't solving anything. It's spinning, looping, grasping for safety, but creating more fear. Add to this the brain's dopamine reward system. Each time you solve a problem in your head, even a fake one, you get a hit of dopamine. So your brain learns, worrying equals control equals reward. And now you're addicted, not to thinking, but to the illusion that thinking is helping. An anxious brain is a noisy brain, but noise is not wisdom. Thoughts can be loud and still untrue. They can feel urgent and still be unnecessary. The mind evolved to protect you from lions. It was never built to manage 1,000 notifications, 5 open browser tabs, and a lifetime of unresolved emotional trauma. It's overstimulated, overloaded, and deeply tired. But here's the beautiful part. The brain can change. Through awareness, practice, and stillness, you can rewire the circuits. You can soften the fear response. You can create a mind that's not just sharp, but peaceful, because you don't need to think your way to peace. You need to feel your way out of fear. Overthinking isn't random. It's not just an annoying habit. It's a survival mechanism rooted in unresolved fear and the desperate need to feel in control. Because when life feels unpredictable, when love feels unstable, when safety was once conditional, the mind steps in and says, "I'll protect you. I'll figure everything out before it happens. I won't let you be caught off guard again." And so begins the mental obsession with planning, rehearsing, analyzing, anticipating, not because you're obsessive, but because somewhere along the way, your body stopped trusting the present. This is what trauma does, especially the subtle kind, not just violence or catastrophe, but emotional inconsistency, neglect, criticism, being loved only when you were useful or quiet or perfect. You learned early that peace was conditional, that safety could disappear at any moment, so you became hypervigilant. And that vigilance didn't just live in your body, it lived in your mind. Your thoughts became your armor. Your overanalyzing became your compass. Your control became your god, because unpredictability felt like danger, and thinking felt like power. But here's the cruel twist. The more you try to control the future in your mind, the more anxious you become in the present. Because control isn't calming, it's consuming. The more you over-prepare, the more unprepared you feel. The more you anticipate pain, the less joy you allow yourself to feel. You think you're protecting yourself, but you're just reliving the past in slow motion. Healing begins when you stop asking, "How can I make sure nothing goes wrong?" and start asking, "What if I could handle it, even if it does?" Because peace doesn't come from predicting everything. It comes from trusting yourself to respond to anything. That trust was taken from you by trauma, by chaos, by the people who let you down. But it can be rebuilt, not through thinking, through presence, through nervous system repair, through learning, slowly, gently, to feel safe without needing all the answers. because life was never meant to be perfectly predicted. It was meant to be lived. You wake up already behind. You scroll while brushing your teeth. You answer emails before breakfast. You measure your worth by your output, and you call it ambition. But it's not ambition. It's survival disguised as success. In a world that glorifies productivity, slowing down feels like weakness. Stillness feels like failure. Rest feels like laziness. So we keep moving, keep thinking, keep doing, not because we're thriving, but because we're terrified of what might happen if we stop. The modern mind is overstimulated but undernourished, fed by data, starved for depth. We've confused activity with meaning, confused being busy with being alive. And in that confusion, we've created a culture that rewards mental burnout and punishes presence. Overthinking thrives in this culture because it's treated like a virtue. I can't stop thinking about this project. I go over every detail 100 times. I plan for every possible outcome. We call that being prepared, but often it's just being afraid and not knowing how to feel safe without control. Here's what no one tells you. You don't need to earn your right to slow down. You don't need to prove your value by burning out. You don't need to think your way to peace. You can choose to exit the game, not permanently, not irresponsibly, but intentionally, because stillness is not emptiness. Stillness is space, and space is where real thinking, real healing, and real clarity return. Ask yourself, when was the last time I felt rested, not just in body, but in mind? When was the last time I let myself do nothing without guilt? When did productivity become my identity? If your answer scares you, that's okay. That's your nervous system telling you, I'm tired of performing safety. I want to feel it. You are not a machine. You are a mind, a heart, a body, a soul. You were not built to optimize. You were built to experience. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do in a world of constant doing is to be. The most dangerous thing about overthinking isn't the thoughts themselves. It's that we believe them. Every what if becomes a prophecy. Every judgment becomes a truth. Every fearful scenario becomes a forecast. But here's what no one teaches you. You are not your thoughts. You are the one who notices them. There's a space between you and the mind, a witnessing presence, a quiet awareness that says, this isn't me. This is just passing through. And in that space, freedom begins. Overthinking is like sitting in a movie theater, watching every possible version of your life play out on screen. But instead of just watching, you start screaming at the screen, trying to change the plot, trying to rewrite the past, trying to predict the ending. But the screen doesn't listen, and you leave the theater exhausted, having never left your seat. What if, instead of fighting your thoughts, you simply watch them? I notice I'm worrying again. My mind is trying to control the future. There's fear here. I don't need to act on it. This is the essence of mindfulness, not controlling the mind, but disentangling from it, letting thoughts come, letting them go, like clouds passing through a vast sky. You don't stop the storm by yelling at the clouds. You stop the storm by realizing, I am not the clouds, I am the sky. This is the shift, from identification to observation, from fusion to freedom, from drowning in thought to watching it float by. Start small. Label your thoughts. This is planning. This is judgment. This is fear. Anchor into the breath. I'm here, now. Pause before reacting. Do I want to follow this thought or let it pass? You don't have to win every battle in your head. You just have to stop showing up to all of them. Because the goal isn't to have no thoughts. The goal is to no longer be ruled by them. The mind you have today isn't your final form. It's a product of repetition, not destiny. And what was wired through fear can be rewired through presence. Peace isn't found by overthinking less. It's found by training the nervous system to feel safe enough to stop. Because overthinking isn't just mental, it's biological. Your body gets addicted to stress, hooked on the familiar rhythm of tension and anticipation. So the work isn't just mindset, it's somatic, rooted in the body. Start with stillness, not the kind that demands silence, the kind that invites you to pause, breathe, notice, be. This could be meditation, but it could also be a slow walk, watching the wind move through trees, or putting your phone down during a meal. Stillness isn't about doing nothing, it's about doing one thing, with your whole presence. Move your body. An anxious mind is often stuck energy. Movement, even simple, tells your body, we are safe now. Stretch, walk, breathe deep, shake out your hands. Return to the body that's been waiting for your attention. Practice grounding. When thoughts spiral, the body must anchor. Try this. 5 things you see, 4 things you feel, 3 things you hear, 2 things you smell, 1 thing you taste. Bring yourself back to the here, to the real, to the now. Reframe uncertainty. The overthinking mind fears what it cannot control, but peace comes when you shift the story from I need to predict everything to I can handle whatever comes. Build trust in your own resilience, because safety doesn't come from certainty, it comes from self-connection. This is not instant, it's a daily practice. It's unlearning the habit of fear and replacing it with the habit of presence. Some days will feel clear, some days chaotic, but even on the hard days, you're building a new relationship with your mind, one where thought becomes a tool, not a trap, one where silence becomes a sanctuary, not a threat, one where you no longer chase peace, you become it. There is a moment, brief, quiet, unremarkable, when the noise fades, the body softens, the thoughts slow, and in that moment, you realize something profound. Peace was never far away. It was just buried beneath the constant need to think your way to safety. You were never broken. You were just wired for survival. You lived in a world that taught you to perform, to prepare, to protect yourself, even from imagined threats. You were praised for thinking ahead, rewarded for overachieving, shamed for resting, told that stillness was laziness, that softness was weakness, that silence meant something was wrong. So you kept thinking, kept fixing, kept running mental marathons in circles. But here's the truth. Your mind doesn't need more thoughts. It needs permission to rest. Let your mind be still. Let the problem go unsolved for a while. Let the question remain unanswered. Let the future remain unwritten. You don't need to carry everything at once. You don't need to have it all figured out. You're allowed to pause, to breathe, to simply exist. Start again with the breath. Inhale slowly, exhale gently, not to control it, but to feel it. This is the now. This is the body saying, you are here, and that is enough. You've spent so long believing your thoughts are the truth, but now you know better. They're just stories, some helpful, some not, some inherited, some outdated. You are not those stories. You are the one who gets to choose which ones to keep. There will be moments when the thoughts return. Let them. Don't fight, don't feed. Just notice and return. Because peace isn't the absence of thought. It's the gentle returning, again and again, to presence. So, let this be your new mantra. I am not my thoughts. I am the one who watches, and I choose stillness now. Let the mind be still, and listen, to everything that's been waiting for your attention, not in your head, but in your heart.